When it comes to songwriting, it's a little bit unpredictable. Sometimes I'll have an idea in my head. I might think, I want to tell a story. I'll give you an example. There was a song on the first album called Fountains of Ash, where I heard about a mate of mine that had a really bad relationship with somebody. And I thought, I think I'll write a song about what it's like to be a woman in an abusive relationship. So I thought, well, how can I make that a story? And so the story comes first sometimes. Other times, I'll just be mucking about with my guitar and something hits me. It's very seldom I sit down and say, right, today I'll write a song, because it doesn't work like that. And often when you try, you might have a few hours in front of you, you say, right, today's about songwriting. It doesn't normally happen because it's forced. So either the story makes me think of a certain tune and I start writing that way, or something surprises me, quite literally. I mean, I don't know whether other people will be honest about this, but I don't think many writers have a process that they could describe coherently. What I mean is, I think most of us just noodle about on what instrument we've got, and then something happens, oh, that's a nice chord structure, oh, hang on, I've got an idea. And it's a little bit like it comes from nowhere. So, and then you think, oh, that sounds good, and you try and muck about with it for a little longer, sometimes hours, and if you're lucky, a song happens. That's it, really.
I'm very rhythmically based in a lot of things I do. Just the process of walking, I get so many ideas just walking down the road because the natural rhythm the body's moving. That's quite often stimulates me to think of riffs or delivery of a melody. Those are things that sort of get me going. So on my phone, I've got tons and tons of little references with added background, traffic, noise, all these sort of things that don't make any sense to anybody else. And half the time I listen back to it, it doesn't make any sense to me either. But in the moment, I throw it down because if I don't, then I'll lose it. But I have stuff coming to me all the time. So one thing I don't lack is ideas. What I might lack is the fact that, 9 out of 10 of them aren't that good. But there are a lot of them. So it's just a case of just throwing enough at them, and then and through the filter of the other guys, if they kind of pick up on them, or it sort of strikes a chord with them, then fantastic. But my influence is coming from everything.
Each of us have a different kind of style or approach. In my own case, if I have a new idea for a song, which might start with a lyric idea, it might start with a musical motif or a chord sequence. It could be anything really, but when I start to put it together, I've generally got a very reasonably well-worked idea of the whole thing. So I can sort of hear it in my head, and then I start to put together a version of that I can distribute to the rest of the guys for discussion. And once we've got that far, then we start talking about ways in which it could be improved, changed, or revised. And at that stage, all sorts of things might happen. I mean, the original conception might go through the whole process and still be reasonably intact at the end. But in some cases, it might be completely reworked as a result of other people's contributions. So I think we've all got this reasonably open attitude towards the way things might develop once we put an initial idea to the rest of the guys. Sometimes it takes a long time to get the best out of an initial idea. Not always the case, but I generally find that when you've got 5 other guys that you're working with, in order to make it work in a well, inclusive fashion, it's obviously going to take a lot longer than if you're just working, say, in a duo. So sometimes, as I say, things can go in directions that you've never imagined, for the better, and the band builds the track.
In terms of how songs get born, some of the songs, they're a very clear decision. So you might say, right, angry about war. The war in Iraq was behind Awakened Dreaming. And I said, I'm going to write a song which is anti-war. Some of the songs are that, and everything serves that. So sometimes the story drives the music, other times you just get excited by something that pops in your head. It's really difficult to describe it. We found the long stuff we've written works fine on CD or on the record, but if you play a 20-minute song to people that don't know you, it doesn't matter how good it is, they will drift away. Just recently as a band we've been saying we need to write more rocky stuff, because when you do more riffy stuff, more hard-hitting stuff, you think, well, that's the way we can open the set, or that's the way we can keep attention, or that's the way we can end the set. So sometimes the strategy is what's going to sound good live. But I normally write about something that I'm preoccupied with. some of the people that know the band will know this, when I lost my mum and dad, the songs were about that kind of stuff, because I was getting out of my system how I felt about that. Normally trying to make a point about something, about the world or about relationships.